Nous avons montré, en développant...
To answer your second question, by developing mechanisms, we've shown that we could adopt sanctions and protect ourselves from the consequences, have joint protection for consumers and companies. But of course, let's be clear, obviously, the world market, the global market for raw materials was already going up in price before the war. That's for gas, oil, and other commodities or industrial components. There was already an increase in prices, so you need to make a distinction there. And the governments are not here to cope with all inflation. France, for example, has coped with a lot of inflation, and that's quite exceptional. Now, take the example of gas. With gas, we don't have a major impact from the crisis and sanctions, and where the market went up by 40%, it only went up 4% for consumers because we had a shield in place. Now we're going to work on other European mechanisms too. So what I'm saying is that we think and we know that we have the wherewithal to impose sanctions and to cope with counter-sanctions and to protect our economies because we have the strength at a national level and at a European level. As for your other question,
de respect.
I think we must show great respect and solidarity for the people of Ukraine and the leaders of Ukraine. And I can understand the emotional response and the expectations that are there. Yesterday, the European Council conveyed a very strong and clear message. That was the message about the fate of Ukraine in Europe and the path to its destiny there. Now, could we have exceptional measures with a country which is at war without respecting the criteria? The answer is no. Could we say that we would then abandon neighboring Moldova, which is so fragile with Transnistria and the presence of external forces and the dependency on Russian gas and refugees turning up? Obviously, the answer is no. If we were there in the war, could we forget that the way the other Western Balkan states have been trying to join the Union and have been doing it for so long, and they're in a fragile state and they're impacted by the geopolitical situation too. So obviously we can't do that. So you can see, yesterday we sent out a very clear message, a political message, and we're expressing our heartfelt wish to Ukraine, saying our path is with you and our family is your family. But in the months to come, we will have to have an in-depth reassessment of what our Europe is. And I think I can tell you that with the geopolitical situation and the tragic return of war and the revisionism in history and the ambitions for power and hegemony mean we have to think about how we want to organize a larger Europe, which is not necessarily Europe with the same public policies that we have in France and other countries in the European Union, but we will have to include other countries who otherwise would be destabilized by political Islamism, by the whims of Russia, or by invasion from China, and the moving in at our gateways. And this means we will have to look again at the way we govern ourselves, the way we organize ourselves. And this is why we have decided to have a conference on the future of Europe. This is a geopolitical awareness which is much greater given this context. And this means we will have to get our ideas coming together by summer this year, and we will have to find new forms for our Europe. I'm convinced of